it's Kimberly Lightsey here with the Lightsey family, and things have been exciting around here. We're busy. We finally got our garden beds put together for our yard, and so the homesteading part, we're still learning about all of that. Slowly but surely we're reading. We got a bunch of garden books in, so we're working on that. But today I want to talk to you guys about something that I have a little bit more experience with. Now keep in mind, I am not a pediatrician. I do not claim to be a therapist or even understand psych stuff behind ADHD. However, I am a concerned homeschool mother who has been homeschooling my children. This is my 8th year of homeschool. My youngest son, Elijah, he is 7. He just turned 7 in June, and so we have been homeschooling him since, preschool. I don't really think there's a beginning time or an end time whenever you homeschool. You just kind of do it. When they're old enough, you start teaching them things. And so as we have been working on homeschooling, we noticed a little bit of a backstory. Back whenever he was about 4, he kind of went through this mood transition. I don't really know how to explain it. He was always the super happy class clown, as you guys, can see. He's just always been kind of, fun to be around. And he went through this when he was about 4 to where he was just almost depressed, and it was kind of scary. And, we had taken him to the doctor, we got him seen, and they're like, it's just, pretty much it's just a phase. If it continues, let us know. Praise God, he moved out of that. But we did start noticing that whenever, the other kids were able to sit still and do things, that needed a little bit of extra attention there. And so I want to, throughout this video, just encourage you guys that are homeschooling special needs children, that, specifically those with ADHD, that yes, it is a struggle, but yes, you can do this, okay? If I can do it, you can do it. Now, I homeschool my 4 children. My oldest is 13. I have a 9, almost 10-year-old. And then Elijah, 7-year-old with ADHD. And then I have my 3-year-old. And so, the house is full because we have been through all of them. So we're gonna talk about curriculum today. We're gonna talk about some activities that work for him specifically. The whole family does them, but it really seems to work for Elijah, the ADHD kid. And we're also going to mention some things that we like to avoid. So hang in there. So first I'll start with curriculum. Okay, some of the things that we have found out that works whenever we're starting kindergarten, and a lot of people are like, well, just let them play, and that is great, but I kind of feel like I need, for my personal concentration, for my personal benefit, I need to know that he's learning something. I want something documented. And we are here in Florida, so if we homeschool through kindergarten, we do not need an evaluation or standardized test. That's the way that our homeschool laws work here. We do need them. Our letter of intent to homeschool is sent in, and they do get their evaluation or standardized testing. You have to send in after their first grade year. So kindergarten is just kind of figuring out what in the world I am doing. And so whenever we're in kindergarten, I'm like, okay, let's try something. So we tried the worksheets, at Walmart, at Sam's Club. They have these thick kindergarten worksheets. We've tried those, and he did okay on those. It was a lot of one-on-one, type thing, and he did pretty good at those. But for me, I felt like we needed a curriculum, especially as we looked into starting first grade, because I knew we were going to have an evaluation. And, I just wanted, as a homeschool mom guilt is fierce, and I just felt like I needed proof of a curriculum. Now, some people are unschoolers, more power to you. I don't think my anxiety could handle that, to be honest, you guys. So, I went out and I started finding curriculum. Okay, I'm pretty sure that we went through all the curriculum available in first grade. So we did the worksheets. I personally didn't feel like that was enough. Okay, we did them through kindergarten. It was fine. Because in Florida, kindergarten doesn't count in homeschool, pretty much. So starting first grade, I'm like, okay, we're gonna find a curriculum. So we tried the Saxon stuff. Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with Saxon, it's very black and white. And it's kind of an average, I wouldn't say it's an excelled curriculum, but it's kind of average. It's kind of in there with everybody else. It is a textbook, so they're quite thick, and he hated it. I think it was because there was just so much. And the fact that it was black and white, it did not keep him engaged. It was in first grade, we already started having a nightmare of a time getting through math. And that went by the wayside. That did not work for us. So then we went through this easy peasy, all-in-one homeschool, and it's an online program that is free, and it has like all the different subjects you need all the way up. You can donate to it, but as far as using their curriculum is totally free. You create an account, it's easy. But as far as the curriculum, it would send us to different sites, and it was just a lot for a first grader on a computer, trying to figure out, to click on this, and like I had to be on the computer with him the whole time. And then there were some things to where, like if it sent us to Khan Academy or something like that, like an outside link to do flashcards or whatever, he just wasn't getting them at the pace that they were progressing. And so I didn't want him to be left in the dust. I didn't want him to be in the first grade, classes on easy peasy all-in-one homeschool for like years. And so I decided, you know what? Next. And so that's whenever we found teaching textbooks, which now my older two children, Faith and David, they use teaching textbooks. Faith is using it for Algebra 1. David is using it for, he's in Math 3, so he's still on the first CD. But we use that because it's interactive. You can kind of go at your own pace, and it's not online. I like the fact that the one that I bought, they have an online version to where you can purchase the curriculum, and it's kind of like, you use your Google engine or your search engine, whatever, and you can kind of do it from the internet. However, we purchased the version that is like in your hands. It's non-consumable, so we have the textbooks, we have the CD-ROMs that we put into the computer, and that way I purchase it one time and I can pass it down from kid to kid. So we tried that for a little bit. It is colorful. It has little like characters in the corner that talk to you. And Eli liked that for a little bit, and it was just like, I don't know, the textbooks come and they're like this thick, and in his mind, it's too much. Like I don't think it's the fact that he didn't understand it as much as the fact that he just saw it and got so afraid that there was so much work to be done that he just shut down. And like those of you who have kids that are going through this and you're their mom and you're trying to figure out what is best for them, your kids. So what worked for us may absolutely 100% not work for you. And like, that's okay. That is absolutely okay. You do what is best for your family. But from our personal experience, none of these curriculums really worked. Now we did also use a program called MathUC. And this is what I like about homeschooling. I kind of pick and choose from everything. Okay, so like we'll use, if we need flashcards, because we're learning addition and subtraction, now that he's 7, we're doing borrowing and carrying. But whenever we were working on, how do I add, how do I get faster adding, we used extramath.com. It's free. It's like a flashcard, kind of like a time test type thing. They have a beat the teacher thing. It's amazing. If you don't have it, get on there, create yourself a login, get an account, type your kids' information in, and get them going, because that is kind of like when they finish their school early, and you're in there trying to cook lunch and you're just like, I need something for them to do for 5 minutes. Put them on Extra Math, let them go through some math facts. And it's just good review for all of them. I mean, even Faith, my 13-year-old in Algebra 1, she will go through Extra Math every so often and just as a review. So it's great for all ages. We use that. So I like the flashcard aspect of that. With MathUC though, they have, it's like a lot of manipulatives, MathUC, right? Okay, so these are gonna be things that the kids are gonna see in their hands, and they have unit blocks, and they have 10 blocks, and they have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like they have all the numbers in blocks until you get to tens, and they have 100 blocks. And so as we're going through, learning to add, we take our 1 block if it's 1 plus 2. You take your 1 block and you get a 2 block, you put them together, and then you figure, well, now what size is this? And it matches up to a 3. So the manipulatives I love, and we actually still use that with the curriculum we're using now because he liked the fact of building it. However, the issue that we had with, and I'm assuming it's ADHD, it's not just my kids, particular with this curriculum. The issue that we had with MathUC, once again, was the fact that it was so much. Like, my Eli needs bite-sized pieces so that he feels like he's accomplishing something. You know, he kind of needs that, not instant gratification, but he needs something to where he's like, yay, I accomplished something, let's move on. And that is why we personally settled for PACES. Okay, so Accelerated Christian Education sells these things called PACES. And what it is it's like 10 or 11 little books per year. So let's say his math, like he has 11 books that he has to do for his first grade year, okay? And it kind of breaks it down to where, you know, you've got 32-ish pages and you're finished with that book. Yay, little party. And then the next day we start the next book. And so you can go through it as fast as you want, or if you get to a problem like where you're just kind of stuck and you need to review that, you can take a break. Like we did that. We got about halfway through first grade, had to stop, did a lot of print off of Pinterest, addition facts, subtraction facts. We did some extra math for a few days, and like that was our math. Why? Because we needed to review. We weren't ready to move on. And as a homeschooler, especially with those of us teaching ADHD children who are special needs, it's important to remember that you go at your kid's pace. Okay, do not feel pressured to accomplish way too much, because you're not helping your child by blowing them through things that they don't understand. They're gonna need this foundation for future mathematics. And I know I'm talking a lot about math because that was our hardest thing. So we settled for PACES. I get them from christianbook.com. You can get them directly from the company. Some of your Christian bookstores probably sell them. They go all the way up through high school. So like Elijah is using the PACES for math and English. My older two, David and Faith, are using the PACES just for English. And as I mentioned earlier, they are using teaching textbooks for mathematics. And that's why we homeschool, because you do what works for you. And we do a little bit of everything. And as you've heard, we've kind of tried it all out. But that's what we settled on. PACES. We like the Christian values. We like that it has Bible verses in it. If that's not your thing, you do you, boo. It's what worked for us. And that's, you know, it's colorful. It has, you know, like whenever we're starting edition, it has, you know, the little pictures, kind of like the workbooks had, but it's not a large, you know, overwhelming textbook like some of the other curriculums had. And so it worked for Eli. All right, so we've got PACES. Like I said, math was our struggle. So English, like I said, we do PACES. Once we found them, we've stuck with those. And he may stick with PACES for math up until, you know, he feels ready to move into something else. But as far as I am concerned, we can ride the PACE train all the way through high school and be totally fine. All right, so we've got PACES. Like I said, math was our struggle. So English, like I said, we do PACES. Once we found them, we've stuck with those. And he may stick with PACES for math up until, you know, he feels ready to move into something else. But as far as I am concerned, we can ride the PACE train all the way through high school and be totally fine. You know, it's an accredited curriculum. It's great. So for reading, all right, now my oldest son, who is almost 10, he did not read until he was like 7, okay? Now get this, Elijah, my ADHD kid, he was reading by like 6-ish, okay? So he was reading a little bit early, but I credit that 100% to the Leapfrog Letter Factory, okay? Those of you with our ADHD kids, they love like colorful movement, sing-songy type things. My child is, if he could watch TV all day, he would, okay? And although I try to limit that, whenever we had the minivan before we moved up to the transit, we plugged in Letter Factory like every single day. Graceland, my 3-year-old, she's watching the Letter Factory every single day. Why? Because it teaches the phonetic sounds of the alphabet. And so, you know, the A says ah, the B says buh, and whenever they learn to identify letter recognition, they learn to identify those letters. They also are learning the sounds that they make. And so you're kind of saving yourself a step there. So those of you, whether your kid is diagnosed with ADHD or not, like look up the Letter Factory. You can get it on Amazon with the like digital download, and you don't have to worry about it getting scratched. You can stream it, you know, smart cast it to your smart TVs. Life-changing. Have your kids watch it every day. If they're not reading, it makes a difference. So that's my little commercial for that. Okay, so there's our curriculum. Paces is where we ended up. We've tried everything. Next thing I wanted to talk to you about was activities. What activities work for our family, specifically Elijah with ADHD? Teamwork is great, but we can only handle that in small doses. Whenever we have our co-op classes with our homeschool group, he can do team activities like in a class, but as a mama that knows my child, like I said, nobody knows your child better than you do, mama. So you make the call. But I would never sign Elijah up for like basketball or baseball or like a team activity, even soccer, like a team activity, especially something that's really competitive where the kids are going to rely on him, because I'm with him all the time. Like, I know my kid better than anybody else, and it wouldn't be fair to expect that much focused attention from him. He can do it in small doses, but I'm not going to sign him up for like group sports because it's not fair to him and it's not fair to that team. He can play with a group of people. We socialize. We have our park days monthly. Like, he's always around kids. We've got Trail Life and American Heritage girls that they're involved in. It's like a Christian scouting troop. So he works in teams there. He works in teams at co-op, at the park. He's around children a lot. We do a lot of socialization, but I'm not going to put him in group sports because that's not going to work for him. So while group sports are great, they can only do them in like small doses. So like I said, if they want to play baseball at the park, that's fine. That's not competitive. They're not expecting a lot from him. He can kind of play whenever he's tired, he's done. They understand. He checks out, he goes and plays on the slide or goes and swings for a little bit, and nobody has their feelings hurt, and he didn't have to drop out of the team. Okay, you get where I'm going with that. One of Elijah's favorite things to do is to be outside. Okay, so they need sensory input. Okay, if you think about like occupational therapy and the play therapy and the different things that they do whenever they go, to the specialist, the different kind of therapies that your pediatrician may recommend to you, a lot of that stuff is very sensory oriented. And so we have a mud kitchen in our backyard. And to be honest, him and Grayson playing it like all the time. It's great. Get some water bins, get some, if you need the rice sensory bins, whatever, it's great. Do it outside if you're afraid of a mess. But like, let your kids get dirty. Let them get some fresh air. It's going to improve their health. It's going to build their immune system, and it's going to help them, especially if they need just that sensory input to their brain. It helps them focus. We've even done school outside in the grass so that he can kind of play with it, and it keeps part of his brain busy while the other part is thinking the way it's supposed to. And so that has worked out for us. So anything outdoors. Like I said, mud kitchens, we have a pool. We are so thankful for that. We go swimming, like the kids have been, I don't even know, the last couple weeks, every single day. It's, October, and we're still swimming in the pool. Praise God, we live in Central Florida. Swimming, hiking, okay, he's not a big hiker. If he could get out of going hiking, he would. He would much rather sit in front of the TV. He's just not like real athletic. And that is totally fine, but we do encourage him to get out and do something. So our family enjoys hiking. It is not Elijah's favorite, but he will do it. And if we bring a scavenger hunt, or if we play I Spy, Amazon sells these little hide and seek card games. Those are amazing. Kind of gives him something to keep his mind off of the fact that he is physically exerting himself. So get your kid outside. They'll feel better. You'll feel better. It keeps everybody sane, okay? Also, housework. Like, your kid is probably not going to say like, Mom, can I please do the laundry? But let me tell you something. From the time I started having Elijah do his own laundry, and I'm talking put it in the washer, start it with soap, put it in the dryer with a dryer sheet or wool ball, take it out, he dumps it on the couch, he sorts it, he folds it. Y'all, that is like occupational therapy right there. It's making him focus, and at first he melts and he says, I can't do this, I can't do this. But as you don't do it for him, as you sit and explain it, show him, hold the hanger. This is how the shirt goes on, boop. Now you do the other side, to the point to where they can do it by themselves. And not only are you building a sense of accomplishment, or teaching them a responsibility that they are going to need for their life. Like, I have nothing wrong with going and taking my kid to, a specialist. That is great. But let me tell you something, especially if it's like covered by our insurance, my kid folding laundry has been a lifesaver. That's like the best therapy that he has ever had. And he might not enjoy it, but it's good for him. And like I said, it gives him that sense of accomplishment that he needs, that, just because there's some things that are hard for me to understand there's some things that I can do really, really good. And so housework is a great way to build their confidence, to give them something that they can be proud of. And he also loves animals. So if you don't have a pet, I would encourage that. Okay, we have a cat, he loves the cat. He's got a dog, he loves his dog. You know, we're looking at getting chickens and bunnies. He's super excited. And yeah, so check into pets. The last thing I want to talk about are the things that we try to limit. Okay, so there's three main things. First off, if my kid has food coloring, like a cupcake with frosting that is colored, he's gonna be off the chain for like 3 days to the better part of a week. Yeah, it's just, we have to abstain food coloring, not because he's allergic, but because when we remove it, we can tell like a 100% difference. So we try to avoid food coloring. We've taken away gluten. It didn't show much of a difference. We've taken away dairy. Didn't show much of a difference. We took away food coloring and he was like manageable, could focus, was getting his school done. He felt better, you could tell, without the food coloring. And so we limit that. And that sounds really difficult. Like, well, how am I going to know? Okay. If you shop at Aldi, they have this little circle on the tops of their boxes of food or whatever, their cereal, their gummies, you know, the snack area, and it'll say no synthetic colors. That's what you want to get. Like, I don't know, I'm sure there's other stores that do that have the little label, but Aldi is by far the best that I've seen as far as making it obvious, like, this has no coloring, buy this. Yeah, so check out Aldi if you want your no synthetic color snacks for your kids. Another thing is sugar. We try to limit the sugar. Okay, now if we're going somewhere and, you know, we're in a rush, okay, and they grab, you know, I'll make cinnamon rolls for breakfast or something. That obviously is not going to be an everyday thing. You know, we do not have cereal every single day for breakfast. We'll have it once a week. They may have, you know, the cinnamon rolls once a week. You know, I try to offer, you know, eggs and sausage, or, you know, bacon, or, you know, toast and fruit or something. You know, the natural sugars are one thing, but whenever you get to the processed foods and the like refined sugars and stuff, you want to try to limit that, because you're trying to give them the best that you can offer them. And if their brains are constantly bombarded with the issues, you know, the side effects from the food coloring or the side effects from too much sugar, and it's not going to help them. As parents, it's our job to do the best we can, and if that means limit the sugars, you know, if that means make their Kool-Aid with stevia, do it, girl. Like, your child will thank you, and if they don't, you will be thanking yourself, because you will stay sane. Okay, and then the last thing we want to limit is electronics. Okay, if your kid does better and they need the sensory input of being outside, they do not need to be plugged up to a cell phone. I know that hurt. Like, they do not need to be plugged into a television all the time, okay? You know, Facebook, YouTube, video gaming does not need to be their lifeline. Like, they need some sunshine. They need to talk to people. They need to get outside. And so limit as best you can their electronics. Like I said, I love Leapfrog Letter Factory. My little one watches it every single day, one time. So you're talking, what, 30 minutes? That's still, you know, within the area that, you know, the pediatricians recommend, you know, to have less than like 2 hours of screen time every day. So I am well under that limit. But just kind of be, you know, open-minded to these things. You know, like I said, limit the food coloring, limit the sugar, limit the electronics, and see over a week's time if you notice any difference in the way that your child's behaving. I am more than happy to help you guys. If you have any questions, you know, feel free to list them in the comments. I'll try to get back with you as soon as possible. But I just want to see you guys be the best that you can be at homeschooling your ADHD child. These are the tips and tricks that worked for us. We are still learning day by day. Every single day is an adventure. But yeah, so here in the Lightsey family on the Lightsey homestead, this is what we have discovered that works for us. So I hope you can gather some useful information from this video, and yeah, we will talk to you guys later.